Hello, beautiful divers. How are you doing today? Hope you guys are having an epic, beautiful start to the week. This is the first episode of Dive in Wonder that is going to get recorded. Hence why I'm looking at the mic most of the time. I'm going to try to do this as close to how I was doing it before with the knowledge that there's a camera in front of me. But yeah, it's been a long time. I've been procrastinating on filming the podcast as well. And a lot of you had asked me to, and I know a lot of people are more visual. And it's just another medium that you can use to hopefully support someone. So I decided to stop being a lazy crybaby, and here we go. Here we are. So welcome back to Dive in Wonder. I'm sure you've seen a bit of the rebrand that has been happening. The core of the podcast is still the same. The goal is still to dive in wonder. But I think intellectual spanking was just the perfect way to describe the how. By getting intellectually spanked, my friend said that after a podcast I posted a while ago. And it really stuck with me because I feel like it's a very niche thing to want to be intellectually spanked, but I do feel like that's the niche of people who would listen to these or other podcasts that are similar in the vibe and what we're trying to convey. So welcome to the rebrand. Welcome to Dive in Wonder. I hope you're ready to get intellectually spanked, and here we go. So today's podcast is going to be about a word that is actually a French word, but it translates in every language, I think, in the same way. But the concept is basically what is, in my opinion, the most important skill that we should be trying to develop and that we should be focusing on, rather than a lot of the kind of like decoration things that we focus outside of this. And the word in French is débrouillard, which comes from débrouiller, which kind of translates to figure things out. So débrouillard, it's more of an adjective. So it's the person who figures things out. There's another word in English that I found as the official translation, which is resourceful. I'm not sure that's exactly what I mean, but it's within that realm. So what I'm trying to get us to talk about in this podcast is the idea that a lot of the time we give a lot of weight and importance to our specific abilities in one area. So for example, if you're thinking about traveling, how good are you at organizing things, at booking hotels, or planning budgets? We kind of often focus specifically on things like, how good am I in talking Italian? How good am I in knowing that country? How good am I in knowing that map? All these things which are important, but I think we forget a lot of the time that the main thing that we need to be focusing on, and the thing that we're going to be able to look at and trust the most, is our ability to figure things out while we're on the way, while we're doing things. So I'm giving this example of traveling, but it comes to having a new job, it comes to being in a new relationship, to establishing a new friendship. I think a lot of the times we focus on the specific abilities that apparently it will require to be there, the things you would have to know to be in this new job, the experience you've acquired. A lot of these things are usually the factors that are blocking us and that make us really nervous and reluctant to doing things. It's kind of the, do I have enough training in this? Have I done it well and more successfully than other people around me before? There's a lot of these things that cloud our heads when we're trying to make a decision as to going to the next step in whatever area of our lives. But the thing is that a lot of the time, the thing you need to be focusing on and the thing you need to be able to trust is your ability to figure things out as you go. So at the end of the day, it is about how resourceful you are. And by resources, I don't necessarily mean money or specific industry knowledge or specific knowledge for that task you're doing. I mean more the side of resourceful that comes to creativity. So I think the reason why I really like this word in French, débrouillard, because it's kind of an adjective that people use to talk about people that, in a sense, they trust doing random things. So the way I've heard it being used is kind of like someone is describing that their son or their daughter just went abroad and they're in a new country and they lost the passport or they lost the car or something happened. And they would finish telling you a story that is very stressful to most people. And they're going to end the story telling you like, but don't worry, like she's a débrouillard. Since she's been a kid, she's been a débrouillard. Which means like she's the type of person who'll figure it out. And it's like a thing that people say at the end of sentences to calm other people down about how someone will do in a stressful situation. And I think it's beautiful because you see it a lot from parents and from friends and whatever, but it's really interesting to see that a lot of the trust, the real true trust that you can have in someone to expect them to do well or expect them to be okay in a kind of unforeseen situation or an overwhelming situation, a lot of that trust comes from how highly you trust in their ability to figure things out as they go. Because, and this is one really important thing that I want to make a distinction of in the podcast, I don't want you to think that I'm talking about this concept in a way to diminish the importance of preparation or hard work or discipline, the discipline that it takes to do something before. So for example, I'm going to give my specific industry example, but I'm not telling actors to show up on sets without having learned their lines. Like, freaking prepare, please. But what I mean is that you are going to live in a world, whether you're at work or in relationships or traveling or whatever area of your life you're looking into when I'm talking about this subject. Things that you do not expect and things that you cannot really prevent are going to happen. It's inevitable. You don't have control. We have control over a certain amount of things within ourselves, over the work we put in. There are some things for which you have your own type of control. But if we are realistic, in most things, we have absolutely no control over what's going to happen. In a lot of cases, when you're traveling, the amount of random shit that comes up. I just came back from Europe, and the amount of random things that came up. I had to fly to another place that I was not supposed to go to because my friend booked a job. They stole her car. We had to drive all the way to Rome to pick up. Like, the amount of things that are unexpected and that will happen as you go. We can just not act like life is something that we can just perfectly design and that we can literally do dot by dot how it's going to go, because we have absolutely no idea what's going to happen in most cases. Even when you're planning ahead for your career, you can plan all the things that are within your control, all the inputs on your side that you can work on being the best you can do at the time you're doing it. But other than that, whether someone hires you, whether someone likes what you do, whether someone thinks you're a genius or you're absolutely dumb and you have no talent, all these things are literally outside of your control. So in order for you to be able to be confident enough to still do steps and to still go there and do the thing, you cannot really rely on the trust that things are going to go your way or that things are going to go exactly how you planned it, because that's going to be like a delusional thing that you're telling yourself. And if you don't believe it, it's not going to calm you down. And it's not going to push you to be brave if you don't believe it, you know? And that's the thing when affirmations are just words. I do really, really believe in the power of words, but I do think you need to be really careful with affirmations, because affirmations need to be stuff that you believe in. And that's why a lot of people actually advise you to do affirmations that instead of being extremely positive are just neutral. So when you have like a really bad belief or like a big fear in something in your life, rather than just completely flipping it and saying the exact opposite that you actually don't believe. So for example, you are really insecure about how you are as a partner. You feel like you have the wrong type of attachment, if there's a wrong one, and that you are toxic and that whatever, you have a lot of insecurities in that area. If I make you repeat the affirmation of, I am the best partner in the whole entire wide world, I am the best girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever that anyone can have. If you put that in your wall and I make you repeat that over and over again, you're just going to feel delusional because you don't believe it. And it's going to kind of put you more into a lack mindset, because it's going to remind you a bit more of the things you're not, because you're going to feel a bit ridiculous. And people are like, fake it until you make it and just repeat these things. And I don't really agree with that. And I don't think that's healthy, because it's actually producing a negative reaction most of the time. And it's usually like there's some resistance and there's some uncomfortable vibe going on when you're lying to yourself. So the best way to use, in my opinion, affirmations in this specific area is to make something neutral. So instead of going from I am the worst, most toxic partner in the entire world to I am the best, most amazing, loving, honest partner in the entire world, you can go to something neutral that you actually believe in, like I am working on becoming a better partner. I am consuming content that is helping me learn more about myself, therefore I am becoming a better partner. I am journaling. I am trying to get to know myself. Therefore, I am working on becoming a better partner. Basically things that not only are actionable, but that you actually do believe, you know? It is much easier to believe I am working on becoming ... I am working on improving. That is so much easier to believe than I am the best partner in the world, or going from struggling economically to I am actually rich, I am a multimillionaire, and I fly in private jets. You can put that in your wall and you do you, but I don't think that really helps, because you know it's not true if you're still stressed about it, you know? Whereas if you're trying to get better, if you're trying to learn about finances, if you're trying to organize yourself better, you could change that for a neutral statement that doesn't carry as much emotional weight. And you can be like, I am working on becoming more financially organized. Plain and simple. That's a neutral statement, and you're not going to feel like you're lying to yourself and you're being the Lulu, which a lot of the time is what really blocks people when they're trying to like work on affirmations or just kind of believe different things or change their beliefs, because we are all trying to change our beliefs, because we have inherited a lot of disgusting shitty beliefs from a few generations ago that do not serve any purpose now, but that's another episode. But yeah, basically what I'm trying to tell you, coming back to the concept of débrouillard, learn this word in French, because it's also a really cute word, I think. And it's a really good way of seeing yourself like that. The thing that I'm trying to tell you is that when you're going on a limb, when you're taking a leap of faith, when you're making a step that is really big, whether it is in your career, whether it is in trusting someone new in a new relationship, you know, opening yourself to being vulnerable to someone in that way, that's a big step for a lot of people. And it is much easier for you to reassure yourself and for you to trust yourself into doing something if the statement or the kind of like backbone of what you're doing is, I am really good at figuring things out. I don't know who said this. There's an American author, I think, that speaks a lot about things being figure-outable. So I don't know how you would change that into the adjective. We would have to work on finding a word for that, because it's kind of like being the figure-outabilizator. That's disgusting English. I think resourceful kind of goes in that direction. It's just not as cute. But what I mean is that when it comes to getting out of our comfort zones, the only realistic thing that we can really focus on trusting is ourselves. And the way we will be able to talk to ourselves if things go badly. The way we're going to be able to pick ourselves up from the floor if we have to. That is the ability that you need to be able to hold on to, rather than I am going to be the best one at this job, or I'm going to apply for this and I am going to be the best applicant they will have, and there is no way that I don't get in. I think rather than putting all your energy into believing that and waiting until you believe that to do steps, which is the issue. The actual issue is that a lot of people wait until they feel confident enough in their abilities, in their past experience, which is shit, because then how do you make a new experience? Anyways, they wait until they trust a lot of external things enough, or a lot of diplomas, a lot of things that in our head will provide us with some sort of like green light. Like, yeah, you can go, you can take that leap of faith, you can move countries, you can change partner, you can leave your relationship, or you can jump into a new relationship, you can change jobs, you can start a whole new hobby, a whole new passion. Whatever big decision that will really take you out of your comfort zone, but will also be the thing that will make you better and that will upgrade your life and take you to the next level. A lot of the time we procrastinate on making these steps because we're waiting to trust in things that are not within our control. Whereas if what you focus on is trusting your ability to figure things out as you go, which means, and brings us back to the same concept that we talk about almost every podcast, but it's so important. It is all about your resilience. It really, truly is about your resilience. So when someone is told that they're débrouillard, or that they're really talented at figuring things out as they go, what you're basically telling this person is that they're resilient. And someone who's resilient is someone who's really, really, really good at managing their energy. So the same way that someone is good managing money, someone can be really good managing energy. And in my opinion, that's someone who's resilient. And you can see that, for example, when someone is told they missed a plane or they canceled their flight or something like that, you can see how people react. There's some people that are going to be like, fuck no, and this and the hotel, and how could they, but is it the weather, and no, and I really wanted to get there at that time, and now we're gonna get there late, and there's not gonna be transport, and go and on and on and on about how it would have been so much better to arrive at a certain time. You can see this reaction in people, and you can see straight away people that go like, fuck, okay, what other flights are there? Let me just call the hotel, tell them I'm arriving later. Straight away, they go into solution mode. Straight away. They don't spend 3 minutes going on like, oh, but is it the airline? Do they have the right to do that? Complaining that airlines didn't have the right to do that before COVID. You can really see how people are just so much more economic with their energy sometimes. And it's so admirable to see. And it's such a hot quality. By the way, this is the most massive turn on in the whole world. Someone who's resilient, someone who you see going under distress. The car breaks down while you're together going on a date. Something cancels. It starts raining. And straight away, they're like, oh, we can make this fun. Or we can fix this. Or let me just YouTube how to change that. That is so fucking hot. Being resilient is such a fucking hot trait as a friend, as a partner, as anything, as an employee. The moment I can see that you value your energy and you're able to distribute it well, you don't have, and you need to remember that you do not have unlimited energy resources. You don't. So it really is super important for us to know where we're going to attribute that energy to in a crisis specifically. Especially because also, here's the other thing that is super important about this subject of figuring things out. A lot of being resourceful and débrouillard and someone who's talented at figuring things out comes to creativity. A lot of these things comes to creativity. You can see people that start thinking about, okay, alternative hotels, alternative way of transport, alternative ways of leaving if I need to quit a relationship. Where can I stay if I'm living with my partner? How can I move contracts? Am I in someone's visa? How do I get out of them? You can see people that straight away go to ideas that they might have never thought about unless being put in this situation. And now their brain just creativity, boom, boom, boom. What options do we have? Who do we know in the city? Who can we text for help? Like, that's one of the most amazing things that crisis gives you. Or unpredicted things, or just things popping up. One of the best gifts it gives you is creativity. Now, the issue, and this is why you need to be so mindful, so fucking mindful of your reactions when you're in a crisis. If you let yourself go down the complaining path, if you really let yourself go into the, why did the airline do this? Why did my partner have to do this? Why didn't you book another airline that wouldn't cancel? Why did we book that hotel that didn't have late check-in? I told you should have booked something else, and on and on. When you go into that self-indulgent just loop of complaining and making it super dramatic, when you feed into that, you're allowing your cortisol levels to rise up tremendously and keep rising and rising up, because you're going to start engaging with other people and you're going to pass that energy. They're going to feed it back. They're either going to complain back and tell you, yes, you're right, airlines shit or whatever, or they're going to start fighting you like, you should have booked that then. You should have done something differently and whatever. And if you keep on going and going on this loop, you're just going to raise your cortisol higher and higher. And cortisol, as you know, is a hormone that's responsible of stress, right? So again, cortisol is not a bad thing. It's great for you. It's great for humans. Acute cortisol is the one that makes you run away from a car that's coming towards you, makes you run away from a lion. It's in our system for something. Now, chronic high cortisol levels are a whole different thing. That's when you get cancer and whatever. So of course you do need to manage your stress. What I'm telling you about cortisol is that when you have insane amounts of cortisol in your brain, when you allow your nervous system to go into fight or flight mode, you're cutting down the circulation that would go to the creative part of your brain. So I'm going to repeat that again. When you allow your nervous system to go into fight or flight mode when there's a crisis, you are cutting the blood circulation that would go into the part of your brain that is in charge of creativity. That is why when someone is in fight or flight mode, they are not creative. You cannot be creating, you cannot be making art and at the same time being on fight or flight mode. It's one or the other. Because if you're telling your brain that you're in danger, if your body thinks that you're in danger, because you need to remember that danger for us, the way you react, if you react really badly to a canceled flight, for your body, there's no difference between that and a lion chasing you. You're in danger. That's it. All the same systems work the same way, you know? Blood starts being distributed differently, so you don't have the same blood flow going into your digestive system. Therefore, a lot of people have digestive issues when they get stressed. A lot of things work differently in the body because we were supposed to be able to run faster if we're running from a lion. You know, you're supposed to kind of react fast. The thing is that your body and your brain do not understand that you're making all these crises and you're making all this show because you got a bad email or because someone canceled your flight or because they didn't give you that promotion or because they didn't give you that apartment that you applied for. And now the issue is that because this system's go into place, you are not creative. You cannot find creative solutions. And it's so frustrating, and I've been there over and over again, when you try to find solutions when you're stressed, there's only going to be more negative ideas. There's only more negative thoughts coming to your brain. It's really hard to be creative. Really freaking hard to be creative when you're in this state. And it's not on you, it's not lack of willpower, it's simply you don't have the same blood irrigation to that part of the brain. That part of the brain is almost in like pause. It's like, no, we're not here creating, we're in danger. So you trying to find solutions when you're in the highest peak of cortisol is a waste of time. And nothing comes from being in that state, even for other people, because you need to understand that if you're the person who reacts to crises like that, no one wants to be around you during crises. And I know this sounds really hardcore, but you know those type of friends that react so badly to any change of plans? You don't want to travel with these people. I personally do not want to travel with people that I know are not resilient. And I think I've even had to say it to some friends when we plan trips. There's people that I just simply do not want to travel with because they're not resilient, and I've seen them react to a canceled Uber. I've seen their hectic reactions to things that are so trivial that I'm like, I do not want to go and move across Europe. So many things can go wrong, you know? The more you travel, the more you realize you can end up with an allergy in the hospital. You can lose the car. So many things can happen that if you're not with someone who's able to make everything into an adventure or who's able to be like, whatever, let's just think about a new solution. It's just so much heavier and things are so much longer. And honestly, I don't want to spend my energy trying to calm you down or trying to calm someone down if I'm in a moment of crisis. That is something that I did for a very long time in my past relationships and stuff. And that is not something I'm going to do again. Honestly, guys, the same way I'm telling you to save your energy in moments of crisis, also save your energy when it comes to who you are around in moments of crisis. Because trying to convince people that things will be okay and that life's not against them and that the whole airline didn't plot this against them and just trying to convince people that the world is not against them is so energy draining. That even if you are resilient yourself and you could be figuring out really creative solutions, if you are wasting time trying to calm someone down, it's just going to be 3 times harder, if not more. So that's a side note on not only focusing on that ability of being débrouillard or resilient or resourceful or however you want to call it in your language, but also make sure that when you're taking these big steps, either take them alone, which a lot of the time you will have to, and I think is one of the best ways to do it, or take them with people that are also in the same frequency and that are also very resilient. And there's some people that I absolutely adore, but I have so many people around me that you would see them reacting to, for example, we booked a really bad Airbnb on one of our trips to the mountains the other time, like a really bad Airbnb. We were completely catfished, and we got there and it was disgusting. And I'm not going to give you details, but we couldn't stay there. Like I had an allergy just looking at the place, you know, like I was already like, So we were like, okay, we have to go. We didn't know we were going to get refounded, but we knew we couldn't stay. But the whole point is that it ended up being the best adventure. I was with 2 of my friends, and it ended up being a thing about, oh, then we get to go to this other place and we get to see kangaroos there. Or like, oh my God, we have to stay another day there. That means we can do that thing that we didn't get to do on the trip. And you can see people who straight away are trying to just find all the good sides about something that is apparently wrong or that was unexpected. You missed a flight and you hadn't had the time to go to this restaurant. Let's just go now after the airport. These moments that I've had with people around me lately have actually made me so much closer to them. Crisis with the right people get you closer to them. And I do truly believe this. Dealing with the unexpected, dealing with crisis, when you travel with someone or whatever, those moments are the ones who bring you closer. Much more than when everything goes fine. 1,000% more. And that kind of camaraderie, how do you say that? If you're someone's camaraderie, is that French? Camaraderie? Okay, I'll think about a new word. This complicity, let's go with complicity. This complicity that develops when you solve crisis together, when you problem solve together, when you sit down and do an improv brainstorm on how to solve something. These are the most bonding, beautiful moments you can live with someone. And in that same way, and I really mean this, these last minute brainstorming sessions with yourself are also the most bonding moments with yourself. The amount of love towards yourself that comes from those moments in which you had to figure things out last minute and you did it, there's just something that you create within that relationship and that you will treasure forever. And I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. If you think about some of the worst moments that you've had or some of the most unpredictable, kind of like overwhelming situations, and if you were alone and you had to figure it out, there's so much trust that comes from those moments. There's so much there's so much of like that, like, oh, thank you for having my back. Like, thanks God you have my back and I can rely on you. And how fucking beautiful is to have the I can rely on you with yourself. Because truly that is the only person that you're 1,000% sure that you'll be able to be with for the rest of your life. So when you develop this trust relationship with yourself of like, you know what, let's just buy the ticket and then if things go wrong, if they cancel that, we'll figure it out. You're smart, you'll figure it out. Honestly, that line, you're smart enough, you'll figure it out, that line can take you through everything. Whether it is a heartbreak, whether it is a trip, whether it is changing continents, moving, all the big jumps in life, trying to learn a new language, all of the big decisions, if you can tell that to yourself, you're smart enough, you'll figure it out. That's the only trust you need. You don't need to be extremely prepared for everything unconceivable, every last minute thing that could happen. You do not need to sit down and predict every possible terrible case scenario that could happen. I mean, I'm not saying go do things without thinking about anything. Of course, it's important to consider the biggest factors, right? But out of the biggest factors, all the little things that you don't know and that you don't have power over yet and that are going to kind of like come up as you go, you know, just, you can just let them go with that phrase. You can just let them go with the knowledge that you've got this, you know, you've got this. And yeah, I think that's why the concept of débrouillard, I just find it so cute. And whenever I'm really overwhelmed and I kind of start imagining all the worst case scenarios, because my anxiety is really fucking creative, as I'm sure yours is as well. And it can tell me how everything can go wrong, how exactly everyone will be disappointed, how all my dreams can crash all at the same time. Whenever that voice starts speaking up, which is your ego trying to fuck you up, and it's so much stronger for me when I'm hormonal, whenever that's going on, a lot of the times telling myself, okay, things can go to shit. All the worst things that you're thinking about, they can happen. But you'll figure it out. You've figured out so much fucking shit before. You've had to figure out, you had a massive accident when you went to the US. I can just go on and on thinking about random shit that at the moment seemed like the end of my life and that I figured out, that I'm like, you're good, we'll figure it out. If the worst possible thing happens, you've got it. You'll figure it out then. But you'll figure it out then. You don't need to figure it out now. You don't need to waste your whole day right now thinking about how you would solve that, because that's anxiety. Because it's something that hasn't happened. But when you trust your ability to figure things out as you go, you don't lose as much energy before, And this is something that you cultivate. This is not something that you can just, boom, now I'm resilient. It's something that you do step by step. And it's not when everything's going smooth and when everything's soft and nice that you develop this. You develop this with your habits of journaling, and journaling why your reactions are so big, what things are triggering exactly, who triggered stuff. But you also develop it as you go through crisis, as you travel, as you go into relationships that maybe fail, or all these things. That's when you know. So next time that something happens, next time that you maybe scratch your car, you have an incident driving, you have an incident shopping, you have something bad happen. Cliche, but it works. Just take a few deep breaths. And be like, how do I want to spend the energy I have right now? Do I want to spend 15 minutes screaming at this other stupid driver? Because they might be, let's just say they might have a low IQ. Do you want to engage into a fight with someone with a low IQ or without any emotional intelligence that just did something in the street? Do you want to put your energy there? Or do you want to put your energy in how do I get out of this situation the quickest, the easiest, the smoothest? Because I have other things going on in my life that are more important and that require much more attention and that are worth more attention. Because that's also something that you need to think about when you're distributing your energy. Is this worth it? Is missing the bus worth it? Worth destroying your energy for hours, putting your cortisol up? Because that's the thing. We all think it's the 5 minutes you're complaining. It's not. When you spike your cortisol, it stays in your body for a really decent amount of time. So what if you're about to see someone you love right after, or you're about to go to a job interview, or you're about to do something you care about? Do you want that energy infused into that because of someone who doesn't know how to drive? It's only you telling yourself that you don't value your own energy enough to use it better, And a lot of people wouldn't be as chill just throwing money in the street because they think it's more valuable, but they will stay fighting in the street for 1 hour. Why would you think saving money, why would you think in general that money is more valuable than your energy? How could you ever think that you don't want to throw money in a street for half an hour, but you're willing to fight with a stranger in the street for half an hour? In what planet does it make sense to you that money is more valuable than your time and energy? It makes absolutely no sense. Because let me remind you that you can always make more money. You cannot make more time and more energy. You cannot. You can have more energy through your habits, but you cannot have more time. The half an hour you spent there fighting with this random person, you won't get it back, You'll die when you'll die, and that was half an hour that was gone. You cannot do anything to recover time. The energy that you just gave that person, instead of taking 30 minutes to call your grandma or to call someone you love or to send an email that was important for you, you won't get that time back. So honestly, it's better that you just throw money at people. Honestly, if you're gonna compare that, just throw away money, because you can always make more money, but you cannot do the same with your energy or with your time or with the exchanges you have with the people you care about that are gonna be always tainted by how resilient you are to things around it, And same, if you're traveling with someone you love and you decide to spend half an hour on the airport complaining about an airline or about a seat or about food, it's half an hour that you could be having conversations that would stay with you forever with this person, but you're not. You're also telling the person you're with that they're not that valuable when you decide to engage into this type of behaviors when you react to crisis. You aren't honoring the possibility of spending time with them right now. You are not honoring their energy. You are completely taking value away from being with them. So also have that into account before you have these massive reactions. And yeah, I think that's pretty much what this episode was about. I wanted to give you a hardcore intellectual spanking of being a débrouillard, of figuring things out, because I think that's one of the things that is the most actionable, that we can really, really be accountable for when we're trying to improve, and that will actually help you make the big steps and take action into the things that really matter for you. And again, in order to dive in wonder, in order for you to be able to look at the beautiful things in life, in order for you to be curious and to be open in the present, you need to be resilient. And you need to be able to be in that creative energy and to not allow external things that you were not expecting to completely destroy that. Because again, it takes you out of that wonder, of that awe, of that childlike state. So that's why I felt we all needed an intellectual spanking in order to dive in wonder. So I hope you enjoyed the first recorded episode. I will now record them from now on, probably always in some sort of pajamas, because I don't want to procrastinate choosing a whole outfit for the podcast, because I know this is going to push me to not do them as often. So this is going to be part of the branding probably now. No, I'm joking. I have no idea what I'm going to do, but I hope this episode was useful for you. Have a gorgeous, amazing day. If this episode was useful or it served you in any type of way, please don't hesitate to share. It's going to help the podcast and your friends. And my DMs are always open if you have any feedback. And we're going to start the interviews really soon. So I'm really excited about that. And yeah, have a gorgeous day ahead. Have a gorgeous week ahead. Thank you for having the courage to dive in wonder. And I'll see you next week. A bientôt. Ciao.